Greetings from Elite English Academy. Dear friends, welcome to this NTA Net English Preparation Series. In this video, I am going to discuss the topic Structural or Descriptive Linguistics. This topic comes under the Unit 5. First, let's discuss the origin of structural linguistics. The most influential school of linguistics from the early to the mid-20th century was structural linguistics, and this school was associated chiefly with the American linguist Leonard Bloomfield and his followers. Earlier, the findings of Franz Boas, B-O-A-S, the findings of Franz Boas, research in the exotic tribal languages of North America formed the basis of this school. Later, Edward Sapir and Bloomfield formulated the tenets of structuralism, and Bloomfield's monumental work, Language, which was published in 1933, set in the era of structuralism. It is the publication of this book, Language, marks the drastic change in structuralism. The main idea of this school is that language has a structure. Language is composed of units in sequence at different levels. The interrelationship between these units determine the structure of a language. The grammarian's task, every grammarian's task is to establish these units and how their relationship to one another at the same level and also to units at other levels. See, this smaller relationship forms the language. Structural grammar was, in fact, a reaction against the notional grammar of the traditional kind. So, notional grammar is based on the rules, whereas the structural grammars, though there are internal relations, it is based on the usage. The vagueness of the notions, the inexplicitness in the criteria of definitions, and the use of meaning for the establishment of grammatical categories were they form the structuralists of the time. So there are different things that control the structure of a language. There are 10 different points or salient features that form the structural linguistics. Now let's discuss that. The features of structural linguistics. First, linguistics is an autonomous scientific discipline. So the study of language is a scientific discipline because science is based on accuracy. So there is no longer the involvement of imagination or just a kind of adjustment. It is like science. Language should be studied like science. The linguist data is a limited stock of utterances by native speakers of the language. Of course, when a linguist goes for studying the language, he has a set of utterances. But the discovery procedures should be rigorously empirical and scientific, and this led to the rejection of all data that was not directly observable or physically measurable. Any data that cannot be measured, any set of sentences that cannot be measured cannot be part of this study. So number 2, the analysis of a language proceeds from the smallest unit to the largest unit to the neglect of semantics. So the understanding of the language is immaterial here, whereas the smallest unit, that is phoneme, from the phonological level then till the pragmatic level, application level, step by step the language has to be studied systematically. Third, language is a system of systems. It is a totality made up of units which are interrelated at various levels. So the language units, the sounds, words, grammar, everything has got interrelated relationship. Every language has its own unique structure and hence should be studied in terms of its own internal structure, and there is no universal grammar. Chomsky says, about universal grammar, which means every child that is born in this world has got its own grammatical device in the mind, so it is an autonomous process, automatic process to learn the language. Whereas structural linguists reject this idea. So it says every language has got its own unique structure, so there is no universal grammar. Number 4. According to structural linguists, speech is primary and writing is only secondary. Whereas for the traditional grammarians, writing is more important than speech. Whereas for the structural linguist, speech is primary. Number 5. Language varieties should be studied and described objectively. No variety is so be regarded as superior or inferior to others. For example, for non-linguistic reasons, one variety may acquire social prestige and become the standard variety. At the same time, for a linguist, so the language is primitive or backward, so all languages are equally good or equally bad. So language study should be based on what is available. According to linguists, no variety is superior or inferior. Number 6. Structural grammars are descriptive and linguistic description should have maximum explicitness. Structural grammars are descriptive, it is rule bound. So there are certain inherent rules. The analysis should be strictly based on the descriptive grammar. So what is prescriptive grammar? Prescriptive grammar is based on the usage. Number 7. A language is an arbitrary system of articulated sounds employed by a human community for the purpose of communication. This is one of the most important thing that should be understood by every literature student. Language is arbitrary. That means language has got no meaning in itself. For example, take a person, he commits a mistake. If he is scolded by the teacher, you are a fool, you are an idiot, you are a dog, the student will be offended. The person will react to such comments. At the same time, go to another situation. There are two lovers. You might have observed the language of lovers. Mostly they call each other as dog, pig, and all the animals names are attributed to each other, but it is a kind of enjoyment for them. They enjoy that kind of language. So the same word that is used in one situation is taken as an offensive one, whereas the same word that is used among others or between others in another context, so that is a welcome sign. So language is arbitrary, we attach meaning to it. For example, everyone has his own or her own name. Why that name came to that individual? Because it was given when they were child. If some other name was given, so definitely some other name, by that name you might have been called. Right. 8th one. Language is a form of human behavior. So a set of habits and conventions, and like any other habit, will be acquired by the members of a linguistic community. So this is the base of language acquisition. It is a kind of human behavior. Any behavior can be acquired by repeated behavior. So a child is brought up in an environment, that's why the child is able to pick up the language. If a child who is born in India is taken to England, if the child happens to grow there for 5 years, definitely that child will speak better English than the rest of the Indians who is speaking in English in India. So that is the language formation, the language acquisition is a kind of human behavior. So in a community, it can be learnt in a better way. 9th one, language is subject to change, and hence linguistic changes should be taken as natural linguistic phenomenon. So this is the inherent idea since the birth of a language. Language is constantly changing. So if there is a language that has to change, any language that does not change will not survive. For example, in India, Sanskrit, Greek languages, Latin languages, since they are not used repeatedly by the people for a long time, they have become almost dead languages. They are only in the holy scripts. The last one, the principles of contrast and complementation are important. Where there is contrast, there is a meaning change, and where there is complementation, members of the same unit occur in a predictable manner. Then, as a result, allophones and allomorph appear. So, what are allophones and allomorph? That is a different topics. So, what is more important at this juncture you have to remember is, so the language is filled with contrast and complementation, means one word may replace the another, or in one context you can use the other, or in the over the period of time it may be changed. So like that, structural linguistics give more importance to the form, it gives more importance to the speech as well as the human behavior. Dear friends, I hope the video was useful. Kindly share this among your friends and the aspirants who are preparing for NET exam, so that it will be useful for them. If you wish to join Elite English Academy, visit our website and call 6381458485. Thank you. All the best.